Okay, so today we are looking at lesson 4.7, divide fractions. And we want to remember when we're dividing by a fraction, we multiply by its reciprocal. This is going to be very similar to the lesson when we did a whole number divided by a fraction. So now we just have a fraction divided by a fraction. So it works very much the same way. If you remember from last week when we learned about a whole number divided by a fraction, we talked about having a certain number of, let's say, pies, and then dividing that into halves. And how many halves are in one pie? Two. So 2 divided by half is going to give you the number of pieces that you have. So now we actually are starting off with a fraction, okay, and then we're dividing by another fraction. So in example number 1, we have 5/6 divided by 2/3. So we had 5/6 and divide by 2/3, and this is actually the not example number 1. This is the in the explanation. So 5/6 divided by 2/3. So the 5/6 is what we're starting off with. So that number is unchanged. That's the starting amount of items that we have, or quantity of something that we have. Then we're going to change the divide to its inverse operation. The inverse of divide is multiply. And if we change the divide to multiply, we have to change this 2 divided by 3 into 3 divided by 2. Okay, so now again, we change the divide to times, but if we change divide to times, which those are inverse operations, we need to change this to the reciprocal because this means 2 divided by 3. So if we change divide, we have to change this to its reciprocal. So instead of 2 divided by 3, 2/3, it's now going to be 3 divided by 2, 3 halves. Okay. And then we check and see if we can cross cancel. Anytime we can cross cancel, we want to do that because it's going to make our final answer closer to being simplified, or maybe even cause it to be totally simplified. So 3 and 6 are both divisible by 3. 3 divided by 3 is 1. 6 divided by 3 is 2. And then we can multiply. Numerator times numerator is 5. Denominator times denominator is 4. So we end up with 5/4. Okay. And then we can change that to a mixed number. That will be 1 and 1/4. Okay, number 1, find 1/2 divided by 1/3 and write that in simplest form. So we are going to use our multiply by the reciprocal method right here, 1/2 divided by 1/3. So we start off with 1/2 divided by 1/3. That's our original, excuse me, that's our original given problem. So 1/2 divided by 1/3. We leave the 1/2 alone. That's the amount of items that we have, or the quantity of something that we have. The divide, we're going to change 2 times. Okay, can't divide by a fraction, but we can multiply by its reciprocal. The reciprocal of 1/3 is 3/1. So then we multiply numerator times numerator to get 3, denominator times denominator to get 2. So we have 3 halves, which is 1 and 1/2. Okay, let's do examples A, B, and C together. Example A, we have 1/4 divided by 3/8. So we leave the 1/4 as our starting amount, but we're going to change the divide into times, and we'll change the 3/8 into 8/3. And then before we multiply, we want to check to see whether we can cross cancel, and we can. 8 and 4 are both divisible by 4, so we will cross cancel. 8 divided by 4 is 2, 4 divided by 4 is 1. So then we can multiply. Numerator times numerator is 2. Denominator times denominator is 3. And then we check to see if we can simplify. 2/3 is already simplified, so we are finished with that problem. Okay, letter B, we have 2/3 divided by 3/8. The 2/3 will stay the same. We're going to change the divide into times. And if we change the divide into times, we have to change the number after it to its reciprocal. So the reciprocal of 3/8 is 8/3. So again, we change the divide to times. That's fine as long as we change the number after it to its reciprocal. So 3 divided by 8 becomes 8 divided by 3. Then we check for cross cancellation. 2 and 3 do not have any common factors. 8 and 3 do not have any common factors. So we have 2 times 8, which is 16. 3 times 3 which is 9. So then we have 16 ninths. So that is going to be the same as 1 and 7 ninths. If you don't remember how to go from that improper fraction to the mixed number, it's 16 divided by 9. So 16 divided by 9. How many times does 9 go into 16? 1. 1 times 9 is 9. 16 minus 9 is 7. We used to say remainder 7, but now we say 7 out of 9 because we were dividing by 9. So 1 and 7 ninths. That's part of this problem right here. Okay. And then letter C, we have 5/6 divided by 1/3. We leave that first number alone because that's the quantity that we're starting with. That's what we're given. That's the amount that we have. Then we will change the divide to times. And then if we change divide to times, we have to change 1 divided by 3 into 3 divided by 1. And then we check to see whether we can cross cancel, and we can. 6 and 3 are both divisible by 3. 3 divided by 3 is 1. 6 divided by 3 is 2. Numerator times numerator is 5. Denominator times denominator is 2. So we have 5 halves, which is the same as 2 and 1 half. Okay. Okay, next page, we're going to go right here to divide a fraction by a whole number. When you divide a fraction by a whole number, rewrite the whole number as a fraction, then divide the same way that you would with fractions. Okay, so this is the opposite of what we did last week. Last week we had a whole number divided by a fraction. Now we have a fraction divided by a whole number. Okay, so 5/7 divided by 10. And let's work right here. I think this is, yeah, 5/7 divided by 10. So the first number, we leave that alone. We'll change the divide to times. Now we have 10, which I'm going to write as 10 over 1. Okay, but I'm going to write that, since I changed divide to times, I have to change the 10 over 1 to 1 over 10. So the reciprocal. 5 and 10 are both divisible by 5. So I'm going to cross cancel. I get 1 and 2. Numerator times numerator is 1. Denominator times denominator is 14. So our answer is 1/14. Let's look at examples E, F, and G. Okay. 8/9 divided by 4. So I'll think of that 4 as 4 over 1. 8/9. I'm going to write over here a little bit farther. 8/9. I'll change my divide to times, and I'll change my 4 over 1 into 1 over 4. 8 and 4 are both divisible by 4. So we get 1 and 2. 2 times 1 is 2. 9 times 1 is 9. So we get 2/9. And that's already simplified. We can't simplify that further. Then we look at letter F. We have 4/5 divided by 8. So we leave the 4/5 alone. That's our starting amount. We'll write the 8 as 8 over 1. So now we will write this as 4/5. We'll change the divide to times. We'll change the 8 over 1 into 1 over 8. We look for cross cancellation, which we can cross cancel. 8 and 4 are both divisible by 4. 4 divided by 4 is 1. 8 divided by 4 is 2. Numerator times numerator is 1. Denominator times denominator is 10. So we have 1/10. And then letter G, we have 12/13 divided by 4 over 1. So I'm going to write here just so I have a little bit more space. 12/13. I'm going to change my divide into times. And then I'll change the 4 over 1 into 1 over 4. And I look for cross cancellation. 12 and 4 are both divisible by 4. 4 divided by 4 is 1. 12 divided by 4 is 3. And then I multiply. Numerator times numerator is 3. Denominator times denominator is 13. So my answer is 3/13. Okay,